You are the first woman to lead a big three automaker, and a lot of people say it is about time. I'd like to know how hard it was for you, frankly, to get here. Were there hurdles because you're a woman, do you think?
You know, I've had a fabulous career at General Motors. I've had a lot of opportunity to work in different areas of the business, engineering, manufacturing, HR, communications. And so I've really had a great, career where I've been given a lot of opportunities. I think that's one of the best kept secrets about General Motors. If you look how many women are here today that are in senior levels from the company. So, it's about working hard, and I have a passion for this business, but I don't think there was anything specific.
No hurdles as a woman in sort of a man's world?
Again, when I look at that's not the way I approach it. I just know what you need to do, work hard, learned it from my mother, and that's the way I approach everything.
General Motors has recalled some 30 million vehicles this year. 24 deaths so far have been tied to the ignition switch recall. That number will likely go up, some very severe injuries as well. What has GM specifically done to change the company and make sure this never happens again?
Well, first of all, I think the work that Ken Feinberg is leading for us as an independent administrator of the compensation program, I think is very important, because what General Motors is doing is doing the right thing for our customers, for our employees, and for those that may have been impacted by this tragic situation. But most importantly, when we look forward, we are setting a new standard for safety in the industry. We are working not only within the company and the work that we've done with the product integrity organization to really drive a systems engineering focus, greater levels of validation and testing, also driving that into the supply base. So as I look forward, we'll continue to see improvements, but we'll always continue to do the right thing. If we become aware of an issue, we're going to take action.
You're going to know about it this time.
Absolutely.
There are still more than 1 million GM vehicles with this defective ignition switch on the road driving today, and that scares some people. Are you worried more people might die?
Well, as we look at it, first of all, we have communicated in several times in several forms, letters, media, many different ways, and we're trying to make sure that people know if they drive with just the key, that the vehicle is safe to drive. And we've done extensive testing, and that's been externally validated. But then we're also working to reach out. We have enough parts to fix every single vehicle, so our big push now is to get everybody in to get that vehicle fixed.
Are you not worried that there may be more deaths? Because there was one death in one of these cars after the recall. The car had not been fixed yet.
Again, the situation, I'm aware of that very specific situation. The details are not clear on that. The extensive testing that has been done to demonstrate if you are driving with just the key, the vehicle is safe to drive. And again, that's been validated by 2 external engineering experts.
You have repeatedly said in congressional testimony to us, the media, GM is doing the right thing. Is it the right thing to not allow those that accept money from the Victim Compensation Fund to then ever sue GM again down the road?
The compensation program is completely optional. They have the same, so they have the choice of if they want to participate in that, and then they have the rights that are afforded to them with the legal system. But I think we're going above and beyond with what we're doing to do the right thing.
Because one mother who lost her son, Michael Erickson, told me just this week, are they just showing money? Are they just throwing money at us to make this go away? And she's really wrestled with whether or not to take the money.
Again, we want to do the right thing. That's why we put Feinberg in place. But I would also, and as I've talked to individuals that are effective, if I could turn back the clock and change what happened, I would, but I can't. So what I need to do is focus on doing the right thing for those that have been impacted, and doing the right thing within the company of how we're changing and improving the way we do validation and testing, driving that into the supply base to make sure that we are the industry leaders.
But why not also allow them, okay, we're going to pay you for what we did wrong, and we're sorry. But if you still feel like you want, you need to sue us, for what you believe might be criminal negligence, you can do that. Because a lot of these crashes happened before the bankruptcy, and GM is protected by the bankruptcy from those lawsuits.
And if you look at the bankruptcy, there was a multitude of stakeholders, and there was very important work done to protect the rights of all stakeholders and to balance those. So that stands. Again, when we look at this is something going above and beyond. And I think if you get into the details and if there's questions, talk to Ken Feinberg. I think you can understand it's being done very appropriately with all the right intentions to do the right thing.
You said something in the recent Time cover story that stood out to me. You said, in the past, I was too nice. You've been at the company 30 plus years. What does that mean? And do you think that that was part of what led to this recall, that people just weren't called out enough?
Again, I'm talking about my specific behavior. A lot of the actions that we're talking about from the recall perspective, I was in different parts of the company. I'm just saying personally, what I've learned as a senior leader in the company, as the CEO, to be more demanding, to make sure I'm holding people accountable, and that's what I mean by that. I think that comment has been a little bit twisted as it's come out, but it's really about holding people accountable, making sure we have clear rules and guidelines for people to follow, making sure people feel empowered, encouraged if they know of an issue to bring it forward, and that's the culture we're driving, a culture of candor and accountability, and also focused on winning for the company. So that's where we're at.
GM announced you're going to have a self-driving car, an autonomous car in 2 years. That's pretty hard for a lot of people to believe. That us as drivers are going to trust our cars to drive themselves. How do you get people to trust that?
Well, what we've announced is very significant in that we're going to be the first OEM that has vehicle-to-vehicle communications capability. That's one step along the way to a full autonomous driving. We've also talked about the technology Super Cruise that in certain situations allows you to push a button and be able to take your hands off the wheel with very specific technology to make sure that the driver is still staying engaged. I see these as very important technologies to put into the marketplace to give consumers exposure to so they become comfortable on the journey to full autonomy. And so they're very significant technology steps.
Is this a niche market, or is this the future of cars?
Again, I think it will evolve over time. I think when you look at the congestion around the globe and you look at the urbanization, I think this will be an important tool, but it still won't take away from people's love of driving and still having the opportunity to do that.
So how do you get regulators to speed up fast enough to be able to regulate this in a safe way? Because you've said if customers are going to trust these self-driving cars, if you will, they have to work perfectly 100% of the time.
Well, absolutely, but that's one of the reasons that General Motors has talked about vehicle-to-vehicle communication, vehicle-to-infrastructure. To have it work perfectly all the time is a huge integration of a lot of technologies. That's frankly one of General Motors' strengths as we move forward, and we're going to leverage that. But I will tell you, we've been having discussions on autonomous with our regulators around the globe for more than a couple years.
Are they ready?
I think they understand and see the opportunity, and I think that's something that we're going to work together, many OEMs and regulators around the world, to do the right thing, because I think the goal is absolutely right from a customer-focused perspective to reduce congestion. It also has, very positive environmental effects, and I believe we will.
How much is an autonomous car going to cost?
Oh, it's way too early to start putting those kind of numbers.
No idea. 2 years from now.
Well, and in 2 years we'll talk about that.
100,000?
Again, we'll talk about that in 2 years.
You just hired a cybersecurity chief. A lot of companies are worried about hacking. Are GM cars getting hacked?
Actually, we have had no incidents in the field, but this is an area we want to be in front of and have a concentrated effort to make sure our cars are the very safest. The individual we have in that position is, extremely knowledgeable and technically, in the leadership role, as well as we talk to many other outside groups to make sure we're on the leading edge from a cybersecurity perspective.
But I would guess, and tell me if I'm wrong, that a driverless autonomous car is more prone to getting hacked. You have a lot more computing going on than a typical car. Is that right?
Well, and that's why it's so important. It depends on how you execute it, and that's why we're putting so much energy and effort and technological research and development into making sure that doesn't happen.
I want to talk about the NFL. GM is a major NFL sponsor. You put a lot of ad dollars tied to the NFL. Do you think that the NFL and Roger Goodell have taken the right steps responding to this domestic violence crisis?
Well, first of all, my personal opinion and across the company is it's just completely unacceptable. And so when I look at the steps that the NFL is taking, I think they have an opportunity to not only, make very important changes that will set the tone for the NFL, but also to do something that has more far-reaching implications that I think would benefit and get to the issues that need to be resolved in this case, so there can be, behavior change and real change in this area of domestic violence. I believe that they have that opportunity, and I believe they'll seize it.
have you considered pulling advertising dollars from the NFL sponsorship if you don't see some specific things?
You know, again, I've just stated that I believe they will do the right thing, and it's
What is
something.
that? What do they need to do?
You know, to take the steps that they have a platform. They have a huge opportunity to not only make change that is going to benefit and improve this, you know, really unacceptable occurrences in the NFL, but I think they have to set the tone because they have a platform that they can talk and spread the word and you know, lead people to do the right thing. I think they will seize that opportunity.
Did you sit down with Roger Goodell? Have you talked to him?
I've talked to him briefly.
And what did you tell him in terms of what you need to see from them for GM to stay aligned with the NFL? Because a lot of big companies have been thinking about this and put some strongly worded statements out there about what the NFL needs to do to keep their ad dollars.
Again, what I've just articulated is General Motors' position on this. It's an unacceptable situation, and real action needs to be taken. And we're looking for them to do that, and I believe they will.
When I read a report in the New York Times, and it said that NHTSA got more than 5,000 complaints about ignition switch defects in GM cars, including more than 2,000 about unexpected stalling before the recall. That is a lot. Did NHTSA ever reach out to GM about that?
Again, I think to go into the details, when you look at those numbers, they sound like a lot of numbers, but you know, when you look at the total car park that we have across the globe, we were having
Is that not a lot?
We were having meetings with NHTSA looking at that. The whole industry's view of stalling has changed. You know, again, you go back 5, 10, 15 years, and stalling can be for many different reasons. It can be because someone popped the clutch. It can be because someone ran out of gas. So I think, you know, using and looking at numbers without understanding what's below them is frankly dangerous.
But looking at NHTSA, I mean, you guys, frankly, Mary, got a lot of the heat for this. And NHTSA did not get as much attention for dropping the ball on this recall. Do you think that blame needs to be shared with your regulator as well on this one?
You know what, I'm focused on how General Motors can learn from this and make sure this never happens again. We have many productive discussions on many topics with our regulator, and we're going to continue to do that. But I'm focused on what General Motors can learn from this to make sure it never happens again.
10 months on the job. Does it seem longer than that?
You know, I'm energized by where we're headed. I mean, I'm very proud of how hard the organization has worked to do the right thing, make the changes that we need to do. I know we have a lot of work in front of us, but when I look at the strength of the company with the great products we're putting on the road that are getting, you know, external accolades each time we put a new product, and we look at our new mid-size truck that we're just rolling out right now, I'm very proud of how the team's working. We have a lot of work to do as we go forward. That's what I'm focused on.
What keeps you up at night?
You know, again, we have so many things we're working on. I think there's many areas that we're focused on to make sure that they're going well from a technology perspective, from a how we go to market perspective. So I'm focused on all of those. To say they keep me up at night, I think it's more what I do during the day.
Mary Barra, thank you very much.
Thanks.